Good morning.
You finally got out of bed, huh?
I had a little trouble connecting to the internet there for a minute. I don't know why.
Yeah, we had trouble.
Hi. Yeah, we did too.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you wouldn't get out of bed.
No, I've been out of bed I've been out of bed since like about 7 this morning.
All right, show your coffee cup and I'll believe you.
Well, here's mine. It was tea.
Yeah, might have to. Anyway, how's everybody doing this morning?
Very good. How about you?
Good.
Good. You know, it feels like kind of a strange week since this kind of feels like Monday to me. First class teaching normally on Monday, you know.
Yes, yeah.
So things are a little off. But anyway, let's get started. Many of you sent in some paintings basically to look at and talk about. And you know, so we're going to get started looking at those. And then I have some things that I want to share with you as well. And so here we go. All right. I don't know why that's sitting right there, but okay. There we go. All right. So lo and behold, right here in front of us, this is actually a painting that Beverly did.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Is Beverly here? I think she.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Oh, okay. There you are. Okay, you wanna tell us a little bit about your painting?
Yes. First of all, I couldn't make it to the last class, and Eloise told me that the assignment was to do The Girl with the Pearl. But I had already done it in my own rendition. I did it from the regular Vermeer painting. So I will do it again. But in the meantime, I have a hard time trying to get my paintings delivered to you. So Eloise sends them for me. And what I did is I was still at the stage where I was looking at somebody else's work and, you know, revising it and making it my own. Now I'm trying to just do my own stuff. But anyhow, I decided to do that painting. I didn't want her to have a pearl, and I wanted her to have some color to her. I wanted her lips bigger, her nose bigger, and her eyes bigger, and a different head wrap. So that's how she ended up looking.
Well, the fact is you did, because I sent you an email. Are you getting?
Yes, I did. It made me smile. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I've been sending you emails, and I sent you the reference that everybody else is working from. But if you read,
okay, yeah. I didn't see that. I'll look again, but I don't think I saw it.
Okay, well, what I asked everybody to do was to work from that reference, but interpret it and make it your own. Yeah, and I didn't know that you had done this previously. You know, I was kind of surprised because you responded so fast.
Right. Eloise did send that to me. Thank you.
Okay, all right. But no, that, you know, I mean, this fits exactly what I asked you guys to do, which was to take it and interpret it in your own way. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, and if you want to redo another one, that's fine. But what I don't want you to do is I don't really want you to copy it. Okay? I want you to take it and interpret it any way you want to, whether that's as a drawing, as a painting, as a collage, whatever you would do. Just use it as sort of an inspiration or a point to begin with. Okay? But, you know, looking at this painting, how large is this?
I didn't hear you.
How large is this?
Oh, it's 16 by 20.
Okay, so kind of a medium-sized painting. Okay, and was this in oil or was this in acrylic?
It's oil.
Okay.
It's in oil.
Yeah, because it looks a little more like oil than acrylic to me. You know, just because of the way you blended your colors and things like that, and it's very nicely done. You got nice
Yes.
light on the face.
Mm-hmm.
Eloise, we talk about that core shadow, right? And you see that
Yeah.
transition from the light into the shadow side here very clearly,
Yes.
all along the head wrap as well as the face. Okay, so that works really well. You did a nice job on that, Beverly.
Thank you, thank you.
You did. It's nice.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah. Okay, and then you sent in another painting, and this one I really, really like a lot. It's more impressionistic. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Nice. Yeah.
so tell us a little bit about this one.
All right. Well, it came out of my mind, and it's called Flowers Galore. And it's just a lady in a bunch of flowers and her kid from the back. You can't tell whether it's a girl or a boy.
You mean the child?
Excuse me?
You mean the child?
The child.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
it could be either.
I just tried to do it, and I sent a copy that, because Eloise said that one wasn't very clear, so I did try to send another one. But
yeah, a couple of them. Yeah.
it kind of, the face kind of, I don't know what to tell you. It's just I tried to do it.
Okay. How long ago did you do this?
About a year ago.
Okay, and this is in oil as well, right?
Yeah, all of my work is oil.
Okay.
It's very nice, Beverly. I like it.
Thank you.
All right.
Pretty.
I like the colors, and I like the composition. Now, the one thing I would say about it, okay, if you look at this, and we'll talk about composition a bit, and if you drew a diagonal line from corner to corner, right?
Okay.
The thing that is at dead center is that child. Okay.
Right.
And he's also the brightest color, really, in all of that painting. All of your other yellows and things like that off of that center point are kind of subdued. And in a way, it's nice that you have the large figure over here to sort of shift your focus off the center a little bit. But if I were going to do this painting, I would have moved him either a little to the left or a little to the right and not put him quite dead center, him or her.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's really the only change I would have made to it. Okay. And that would have kind of freed up the composition. Even if you took this figure and just moved it over to here, okay? It's just a little bit, right?
Okay.
What that would have done is that would have opened up the composition to keep your eye moving, all through it, But right now, you kind of, get fixed on that one central, figure right there, because of where he or she is, and the fact that they really are right dead center in that painting, and so they really become sort of this focal point. You just go back to that point, and then you don't really move through the painting that easily. Okay.
Okay. And then you see, I didn't know how to do the hand, so I just stuck it in the flowers. But I wished I knew how to do it.
Yeah. Well, it's like anything else, and one of the things that I talk about a lot, and in fact I'll talk about in some of the other paintings that I'm going to show you guys, is you simplify into simple shapes. Okay. And you said that you had painted this out of your own mind, right?
Right.
Well, even if you're going to paint something out of your mind, you have an idea that you're developing, going through a process where you're doing some drawings and sketching and working out that idea before you jump into the final will help you solve some of those issues. If you know that, okay, I'm not really sure what to do about a hand, then you could take somebody who and have them take a pose similar to that, and have them, look at their hand, see what the shapes are. And that doesn't mean you have to paint a lot of detail. You didn't paint a lot of detail in the faces or things like that, but you suggested that a face was there, and you could suggest that a hand is there just as well.
Okay,
If you just understood the shape and the value. Okay?
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so
I have a
what,
question.
yes. Mhm.
I guess my first art training was to put something in the center of the paper. So you things I've done, they're centered. So is that not a good idea to center objects or to spread them around?
Well, it's really not. Okay. Now it depends. If you're painting like a single object, let's say that you're painting a flower, okay, in watercolor or oil paint or whatever, and that's going to be the only thing on the canvas is just the flower and then just kind of a loose background behind it. Okay, yeah, you could put it in the middle. But the issue with that is if you do that, it creates what we call a static composition, okay? Which means that the eye will go to that point and it doesn't move around in the painting very well. And the thing is, when you do that, people will look at that painting for a very brief time, because when your focus is fixed like that, after about 1 second to 2 seconds, your eye, you're not conscious of it, but your eye begins to tire and it wants to move away.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, if you want a painting that somebody's going to get lost in and look at for a long period of time, you don't really want to create a static composition. You want to draw them into the painting so that their eye moves through the painting and their eye never tires. So they keep looking at it and they see more and more as they look at it. Okay.
So you make a central focal point and then other little minor ones around the canvas?
No.
No.
Again, trying to, keep the eye out of the center. Okay.
I mean a central one focal point is what I meant. I didn't mean in the
Well, yeah, you can pick a focal point, but I wouldn't put it in the center of the canvas. Okay. And I have some examples of, we're going to talk about other paintings, and we'll talk about that.
Is the lady that painted the one with the flowers, is she right-handed?
Yes.
Well, you could take a little stick or something and hold it in your left hand, make like it's a flower or something, and put the hand and just draw it with your right hand on your canvas there, so you wouldn't have to wait for a friend. Because I've done that before.
Okay.
Yeah, or have somebody take a photograph of you if you took the pose or whatever, or take a photograph of yourself in a mirror. Okay.
Okay.
Taking that pose. As long as you have an idea of what your hand is doing or whatever, then you see a shape, right?
Yes.
And you can put that in there. Anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, so that being said, let's look at some other paintings. Okay, this is something that, and this is an artist who's in Spain, and I look at his work fairly often, and he just put this up. And if you look at the composition of this, Eloise, okay, because we were asking about composition, and if you look at the center point of this canvas, right, it's really about like right here, okay? So the focal point isn't here. The focal point tends to be, up in this area right here, okay? And so he's moved his focal point out of the center of the canvas and put it in, say, the upper third. Again, left to right kind of centered, but again, it's not right where that center point is. Okay. And you see how that, when you look at this painting, what does your eye do? You don't just go to this point and stay. You kind of go up this wing and across and then back down to the hands. So your eye is constantly moving. So, and this is a very easy painting to look at. You know, there's a lot of things to see in there. About that. There's a lot of things to see in there, but you know, your eye doesn't get stuck in one place. See? And so you're constantly seeing, and it's like every time you kind of go through that painting, you begin to see more and more about it. Okay, and that's kind of what you're hoping for or looking for, right?
Right.
Now here's an example of a landscape. Okay, and again, you know, if you start at the corners and you find, you know, the point at which these meet, you know, this is really about the center right here. Okay, so see, he could have taken that post and put it right in the center, and it would have made that whole painting very static. Okay, but he just moved it off the center a little bit. And again, see, he didn't create a lot of horizontal lines, right? You know, nothing is really level. See, this is moving slightly uphill to this tree, right? And then the tree has got a kind of a nice rounded shape, and it takes you back, you know, to the center area in the water, moving back, and then back up the hill, and then back up, and then back down the clouds. So you see, you've got these lines that your eye can move back and forth, you know, throughout the painting. And that keeps, again, your eye continuously moving, you know, and seeing, you know, different parts of it. So you don't just focus on a single point, right? But you always, you know, I mean, when I look at this, you know, kind of where my eye ends up at is really kind of right in this area right here, you know, as the focal point. You know, it may be different for you, but, you know.
Thank you. I wish I had known that sooner. I would have changed some paintings around, but I understand when you first put it on the screen, I kept looking all around the different parts of it instead of one.
Well, and you know, I mean, if you study painting, you know, for a long time, you know, and particularly when artists start talking about composition, you know, composition is one of those really, you know, for me, when I first started painting, I didn't understand, you know, what composition really meant, you know, or really the importance of it. And like a lot of people, you know, you kind of think, okay, well, I'll put my still life or my vase of flowers or the person's face, and I'll put them right in the middle of the canvas, right? But then you find after time that, you know, well, they kind of look like they're floating there, or, you know, you get focused on that one point, and the whole thing doesn't really, you know, it doesn't flow, it doesn't work. But you start painting landscapes, and all of a sudden landscapes, you have to learn composition to make those work, right? And to make them really interesting. So studying composition by itself is a whole nother area of studying, you know, art. And if you look at a lot of classical art, if you look at like the work of Caravaggio, Da Vinci, even the Impressionists like Degas, Monet, things like that. Look at, and even their still lives. Look at how many of those paintings, you know, where did you ever see a painting of Monet where he put the subject right in the middle of the page? You know, it almost never happens. See? Same thing with Degas. You know, he's taking your eye and moving it through the canvas. Caravaggio was, you know, a master at composition, you know. So you begin to look at those classical artists, and again, composition was a very important element, right? As well, you know, but you take that composition, those ideas, and start breaking them up into these big, dark, and light masses, and you can create some really dynamic, powerful compositions that way. Let's see. Here's there. You know, again, you know, here's another painting that I pulled off of a website. And again, this is an American artist, and it's not really a portrait. You know, it's a figurative piece of art, and it's this girl, and she's pouring this. You know, I'm assuming it's water. You know, and you know, this isn't the most accurately, beautifully painted, you know, painting I've ever seen, but you know, it's really interesting in the sense of look at the composition of it. You know, you've got this table, you know, here in the bottom third of the painting, you know, and it's a real strong shape, right? And what is it doing? It's sort of pointing, you know, inward, right, to the girl. And then you kind of go, you know, start moving up the girl to her face and then to her hands and the bottle and then back down to the glass, right? And again, so, you know, they're directing your eye. You know, they're using composition to bring your eye into the painting and move you through the painting, you know, to different points and keep your eye moving. Again, you know, if you look at the center point of that canvas, you know, it's really right about there, okay? And there's nothing there, you know, not a focal point. You know, I mean, there's part of her arm and her dress and things, but your eye doesn't stop there. See, you know, it keeps moving, you know, through the painting all the time, and that's, you know, that's one of the good, you know, that's what you would call a good composition.
I can't take my eyes off her dress.
Yeah.
I keep looking up and down that dress and all the different patterns in there.
Yeah.
He really worked on the dress hard.
Do what now?
He really did a lot of work on that dress.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There's probably less work in that dress than you think. I mean, you definitely designed the shapes and the patterns and things.
I'm sure you could knock it out in a minute, right?
No. I mean, it took time. You know, I mean, they put a lot of time into this painting. You know, there's other things we could talk about other than composition. If you begin to look at light and shadow, you know, you squint your eye down, really look at where the light is. You know, it kind of makes like a triangle, you know, like that. And that's the light in here. And then there are triangles that fall into dark, right? So it's kind of broken up into three big areas. You know, this big dark triangular mass at the top, the kind of triangular dark mass at the bottom, and then
it looks like it's coming from the left side, but
it
her
is.
arm, her left arm has got a lot of light on it also. So
yeah. Well, you're saying her left arm or the arm that's to the left in the painting?
Her left arm that's holding the jug of water at the nozzle.
Right here?
Yeah, that looks like a lot of light is hitting it for some reason.
Yeah, yeah, and it could have been, you know, depending on what the lighting, you know, the shape of the arm, that area sort of, you know, flattens out, so it might catch a little more light, you know, in that area. It might be a little too bright, and if it were me, I would probably kind of tone that down a little bit.
Yeah, right where you're holding it. Looks a little, needs to be a little darker maybe.
Yeah, I would probably darken that area. You know, I wouldn't make it dark, but I would darken the value down. Again, keeping the brightest light really right up here. You know.
Of that entire picture, the water coming out of the bottle into the glass really keeps my attention.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, you know, there's a lot of contrast, a lot of interest there. And yeah, there's a lot of really nice things about this painting.
The folds in the dress where the purple is and the white folds keep your eye moving down behind the two arms, behind her arm.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to look at, you know, in that painting, and it's nicely done. I have no idea.
You have to,
Yes.
I think you have to be a genius to be an artist because there's too many things going on that you have to capture.
I don't know that you have to be a genius to be an artist, but it's like anything else, Eloise. You over time you learn more and more by doing it, and it's like the more, well, they say, it's like when you start off studying something, what you really find out is how much more there is to know. And art is one of those things. It's like you open up that door and it's a whole nother world. Color, just nothing but color itself. There are artists who have studied color their whole life. And even, I've been doing this for 50 years. And it's like every time I pick up a paintbrush, every time, I start figuring how I'm going to compose a painting or something, it's always a challenge and you're always learning something new. And the thing is, it's like, yes, it's challenging, but it can also be fun and it can also be playful, because after you get to understand some of these basic, simple principles, then you can begin to really play with them and use them in a lot of different ways. Okay. I'm going to show you two more paintings here real quick. This is another painting. And again, it's lily pads, right? But really look at where does your eye go in this painting?
Everywhere.
Yeah, you kind of meander back and forth through this painting, right? And notice, she put lily pads back here as well as up here, but look how loosely and sort of she just, she wasn't painting every lily pad back there. She was just putting some color back there. So in your mind, you were saying, okay, yeah, this continues on. It goes back there in the back. And because she didn't put a lot of detail back there, all of that area sinks back, doesn't it? Everything up here, the sharper edges, things like that, all come forward, right? And so she's got this nice sense of depth, in that painting. And again, I don't really know how large this painting is, but, this probably took quite a while to do, as far as, just the commitment of time, right, in doing this. So, let's see. One of the things I came across just recently, the Reichstag Museum, they're doing this, they're restoring this painting, and this is by Rembrandt, and it's called The Night Watch. And the interesting thing about it is the Reichstag just published a high resolution photo of this image. And, so here you're seeing the whole painting. And I don't know, how much this will capture, but as you blow this up, let's see if it clarifies it any. Now it's going to keep it pixelated because it's just a copy. But if you go online, you can look at this painting and you can blow this thing up to you're looking at like the fingertips of this guy, or any other part of that painting, and you can see every brushstroke in it, and you can see exactly the way that Rembrandt painted it. A friend of mine sent me the link to that, and I'll see if I can copy that link and send it out to you guys so you can look at it online. But it's a fascinating painting to really look at and see how they, how Rembrandt handled, the dark and light of that. And again, talking about composition, talking about value. Again, if you look at where the center, of this whole composition is, right? The center is really like right there. Okay, so these guys, they're lower, and again, they're kind of around the center, but they're not at that center point. And
Hey,
if
Charles,
yes,
do you notice that that little girl to the left is sort of like yanking at your eye to look over there?
right, yeah, look, squint your eye down and look at where the dark and the light patterns are.
She's trying to steal the moment.
Yeah, well, he's giving you like the faces and the hands and things kind of lead you in and along this way and then back. And again, your eye, this is one of those paintings that, he's using composition, he's using value. He didn't use a lot of like bright, intense color in any of this. But again, he's keeping you moving throughout the painting, okay? Let's see.
The guy on the right, I kind of like the way he's dressed.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's real fancy.
Yeah, well, I think he's the captain of the watch, or whatever. He's supposed to be the subject matter.
He's got that big feather in his hat.
Well, hey, he was supposed to be an important guy. Okay. All right. So we got about 8 minutes left. I want to show you. Well, I want to show you a couple things actually. I'm going to go back. Now, remember, I started doing, basically coming up with an idea, and I did some thumbnail sketches of a figure that was laying on like a couch, right? And then from there, I did a drawing, right? And let's see, that wasn't, it was this drawing. Okay, again, just kind of a rough drawing, trying to figure out where the lights and the darks, were going to be on the figure, okay? And then from there, I did some color studies, right? These little thumbnails. Again, playing with color, playing with the value, looking at where the lights and darks were. Okay. And then I settled on the composition, where the values were going to be, and I did a more finished drawing. Okay. And then from there, I wanted to show you where I ended up at. And so this is where I am now. Okay. And I've added color to that drawing. And this is in watercolor. And it's what, 10 inches tall, 20 inches wide. So it's not a really large painting, but again, and this isn't quite finished yet. I still have, probably at least 4 or 5 more passes of watercolor to build up the depth and the darkness. But this is about probably 2/3 the way through the painting at this point. And so, again, and this goes back to the process of developing your ideas and doing some basic studies before you go to doing a final painting. And the reason for that is you want to develop your ideas. You want to work things out, things like composition, where the light and dark values are, what the color is going to be. Okay. And, going through that process helps you resolve and solve a lot of those issues before you get to doing a final painting. And that way, when you start actually doing the final painting, you're going into it with a certain amount of knowledge and confidence that you don't have when you're just starting off putting paint down on the canvas and trying to figure out what you're going to do next, right? So there's a process. that you can go through. Okay. All right. Hi, Betty. All right. So I'm going to open it up. Anybody got any questions? Anything they want to talk about? Anything going on during the week?
When you said you build up the paint
Yeah.
and you go over it,
Yeah.
I would be, if I get it right the first time, I would be afraid to go on top of it again. But I heard that you need to put a lot of paint on your paintings.
Well, okay. It depends on the medium. Now, if you're using acrylic, and let's say you're working in a small area and you begin to build in the paint, you're still working with it while it's wet, and you get it to a point where it looks resolved, then you can move on, right? With watercolor, you're working with layer after layer of transparent paint, building up the color with the watercolor. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to build up your darks and save your lights, right?
Okay.
Which is a very different process than painting with oil or painting with acrylic, okay, that are opaque. See, with acrylic and oil, you're putting in your darks and then you're working toward your lights. So it's, watercolor is a little more like drawing in that sense. Okay.
Okay.
So again, you know, different media, you're going to approach it a little bit differently. But the thing I like about watercolor and the end product will not be the watercolor. Again, the watercolor is another step before I do an oil painting. See, again, you know, I'm just getting to know the subject, right? And as I get to know the subject and more about the subject, you know, then that gets me to the point where I want to commit more time, you know, in doing an oil painting or an acrylic, you know, and something a little more finished and final. And in the end, you know, I'll probably end up doing a painting of that, but instead of being only 20 inches wide, it'll probably be more like 36, you know, and I'll try to find or stretch a canvas or make a panel that's about 18 by 36. Again, you know, the dimension of, you know, 1 height versus 2 width, which was how I set that composition up. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Anybody else got any questions? Anything they want to share? Because I think we've got. We have less than a minute. Okay. So if you have something to send me, send it to my email address. I'll get it into the mix for this afternoon. Jean, I've got a bunch of your paintings. Eloise, I don't think I have anything new from you, do I? No? Okay. You know, Beverly, I've got your paintings. Let's see, June, I've got a couple of things from you. Lawrence, I don't have anything from you.
What time is the afternoon class, 1 or 2?
It's at, today is 1.
1, okay,
Yeah, Monday it's 2 o'clock. Okay.
okay.
But today, I know, it feels like Monday.
Yeah, today.
I was saying that earlier. Yeah.
Charles, I sent you the one about the egg you told me to do. Did you get that?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll try and resend it again.
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
if you would. Okay,
okay.
yeah, great. I'll look for it. All right.
I'm almost
All
done
right.
with mine. I'll be sending it to you pretty soon.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll get them all, you know, in the mix and we can look at them. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if this afternoon, but maybe the next session.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, we're gonna be here for a while, so
But you can't rush good art.
that's true. You can't.
That's right.
All right. Anyway, thank you all for taking your morning and joining us again. And I
Thank you.
guess we will